So it turns out that in the middle of the day, we got a notification on Twitter that the CSGO Steam page was back up, but unlisted. If you actually go look at it, it's basically identical to how it used to be. Same branding, same layout. The only real difference is that it has a separate app ID attached to it. And that's pretty important. For context, when Counter-Strike 2 launched, it technically replaced the Counter-Strike Global Offensive inside the same Steam app ID, which is 730. CSGO was moved into a legacy branch, so players could still access it, but it wasn't treated as its own standalone product anymore. Now it looks like Valve may have separated that legacy build into its own app ID, likely for some backend or archive or legal simplicity. And this might be linked to something with New York suing Valve, but I'm not sure. That's completely out of the dark. If you load up Twitter, you'll see that everyone's saying CSGO is coming back, or Valve is reversing it, or CS2's failed. I just don't see that happening. CS2 is here to stay. Valve doesn't make small reversals like that, especially not on something this massive. Resplitting the player base between CS2 and CSGO would fragment matchmaking, skins, and the overall ecosystem for Counter-Strike. From a business standpoint, that makes zero sense. Valve spent years building the transition. They're not undoing that because of nostalgia. And I think at the time when they combined these two products together, I think it was because of the review system. I think if they had separated its own separate pages back then, I think CS2 would have been review bombed to closer to those 30% or 40%. It would have most likely been mostly negative on the Steam review system. Now, do I think CSGO will be completely unsupported? I don't think so. I could see third-party platforms like Faceit experimenting with legacy CSGO queues if the build is more cleanly separated, but even that feels unlikely long term. Supporting two versions of a live competitive shooter isn't sustainable, especially when the developer is only actively updating one. Some people are connecting this to a community revival projects like CS Legacy or CS Supremacy, and since we're on the topic of CS Supremacy, it's shutting down on April 30th, 2026, but those type of projects always get shut down. Valve protects its IP aggressively. We've seen that pattern before, and if anything, this move might actually be about tightening control over older builds rather than reopening them. I think this huge change must have been that Valve might just be organizing their backend more cleanly now that CS2 has fully replaced Go. It seems Valve also confirmed to a news outlet that they will not grant licenses to tournament organizers to operate Counter-Strike Global Offensive events, but they do allow for titles like Counter-Strike 1.6 and Counter-Strike Source. But if other multiplayer services allow CSGO matchmaking on their services like Faceit, I would definitely think the player base would split. And I think that's primarily the reason that they won't host Counter-Strike Global Offensive events or legacy events. Also, if you don't know, they also added access to a CSGO Inspect server made by Epidemic, and I'll put the link down below to his tweet with all the directions if you guys want to go check out skins and how they used to look like. What I don't think this is a full relaunch of CSGO, which clearly everyone probably already knows. At the end of the day, CS2 isn't some side experiment, it's the foundation moving forward. And I think moving forward, all Valve projects will probably be using Source 2 from now on. Nostalgia is a really cool thing. And a lot of people miss the peak CSGO, but missing something and realistically coming back are two very different things. And I really think the CS2 developers want to make CS2 even better than Go ever was. Also guys, go check out my Twitch. I basically stream every day. We also got an update during our stream, which is not a big one, but starting today, items listed on the Steam market can still be used like weapons, but any consumables cannot be used or consumed. So if you have a weapon listed on the Steam market, you can use that weapon regardless if it's listed. They also added the ability to set your max offer limit for items in the terminal, so depending on your personal budget, it will account for that. So if you don't want to go over, it won't give you those options. The four options that they give you is how about a $50 as the ceiling? The second option is 250 cap is good. The third one is I can do up to 1,000, and the fourth one is blank check, don't worry about the wallet, which seems like they're really wanting to keep the terminal pipeline still going, and they want it to work. They also changed Inferno a lot. Now Graveyard is really not a thing at all, and it's very wide open to the stairs, and Balcony is super spread out now, so you can be comfortable swinging out. They also added the updates to the community workshop maps and added some map scripting stuff, and that was pretty much it. Honestly, there wasn't anything super deep. It was a 1.6 gigabyte update, so maybe they're just preparing for the next big one. And I think the next update we get from CS will really tell us what is leaving the Armory Pass, and they'll give us a time frame. So if you really want to start getting into the Armory Pass, this might be the time to gather some stars. I'll see you guys in the graveyard. Peace.